Welcome to Pointless Stories with Karshan FS. This is episode number 15. We don't know what this is called yet. We were on movies. We were on. God damn it. I can't remember the title of the last one. I just typed it out, but like film. Now you're going to have to help me on this one, but I can't remember what it's called. God. But
या वैसे एक टाइटल और इससे भी बेहतर हो सकता था
क्या था यार?
पर वो थोड़ा ना it'll be a bit PG-18. It would be film for the app or for Krapanti.
You remember how I said, writer never kind of finds perfection. This is like a good example. I think if I give you like 15 minutes with the same title, you'll come up with something better each time. But like, to start with, the title was good, man. Like, we're just getting better and better. But but we were on film. We were on film, and film is, to be honest, something that is very interesting to us, and I kind of want to tell you this, because I don't know if I've told you this, but even though you and I discuss a lot of films, it's not like me personally that I grew up watching good movies. Till about the time I was 18, I didn't really spend too much time on quality film. That was mostly because we were busy, living our lives. But once I graduated high school, 2012, there was a period of time before I went off to university, and बिल्कुल फारिग था कि जो भी करना था हो गए, और जो भी बंदे थे साथ वो सब यूनिवर्सिटी गए, और for me there was still a little bit of time left. There was about a month, so that month I kind of want to catch up on pop culture. The pop culture that I missed out on, the whole time I was busy living a life. So I spent 1 month and I didn't know where to start. So I went on IMDb. And IMDb back in the day, I think they still do. They have like a top 250 list of the best movies ever made, which are ranked by other movie buffs. And so, the top two are The Godfather and The Shawshank Redemption. And it's generally a good list, because whatever list you have, it always has a bias. Like, you can search the internet for the best movies ever made, but there's always a bias. Except IMDb. I think IMDb is the fairest representation because it's got all the languages, it's got a lot of big user base. So it's kind of averaged out to show you the best movies that actually ever did exist. And it's only in the recent past that people have learned how to skew IMDb ratings. Before that, it was perfectly a system that worked. So for a month, all I did was watch, really good movies and TV series as well. And it's since then, like, I've literally speed run, movies in my life. But since then, I've kind of tried to find some time every once in a while to watch those kind of movies. But again, these movies do not actually release in theaters very often. They're not commercially successful. The good movies that we're talking about are hard to find. So even to this day, I would rather watch a movie on whatever the current version of the Pirate Bay is, instead of going to a theater and watching the latest superhero movie. Because I think in the long run,
sure, dude.
Yeah, in the long run, I think the movie that we're talking about is the one that has more artistic value, as opposed to a movie that's supposed to make your Friday night happier. It's not like that. I like feel good movies. I do. It's not that I don't. I do watch them from time to time, and there are even though we talk about Tarantino, about Scorsese, and they're all renowned filmmakers, we like normal movies as well. Normal movies are well done. Like, definitely, maybe it's just a normal movie, but I like it a lot. It's got a lot of value to me. And Mean Girls is another one.
Mean Girls, dude. I was just gonna say Mean Girls.
This is it. The show's over, ladies and gentlemen. We have nothing more to say. But exactly, Mean Girls. we like all kind of movies as long as it's good, you know?
Definitely, man. I know exactly what you mean. It has to have like, superhero movies though, like are just very like overdone, and it's kind of played out now, you know. But like if I were to watch, for example, Spider-Man 1, like the original,
Yeah.
the one with like
Tobey Maguire.
yeah, that's good. That's it. That's
Yeah,
it. You
yeah,
know, like
yeah.
I would still watch it for the memories, but not so much for the plot and like, like the story and everything.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
it's just such a big part of our childhood. But I know what you mean, man. Any movie that like it brings back good memories, or it's like it was good for its time. What am I thinking of? Like Hilary Duff, fucking Lizzie McGuire.
Lizzie McGuire, dude. Yeah.
Like man, I would still watch that now. If it was on TV, because it was just
so good.
Man, it was so good, dude. And like most people obviously wouldn't consider it a good film. Like it probably has like a 5 or 6 on IMDb. I'm guessing,
Yeah.
At best. But man, it was so good, dude. Honestly,
it was, and I don't know. Like our approach to movies is kind of intertwined with our own personal stories. The good movies, everybody likes. There's no like description or like justification required on that one. But the other movies, the movies that hold like emotional value to us, that has a lot to do. Like She's the Man, for example, is a good example because it's a movie that's,
dude,
yeah.
What a movie, man!
Yeah, it's special to us, but like in the concourse of like movie history, it's a skid mark, but to us it means a lot.
It really does, man. I know exactly what you mean. Even A Kid Called Danger, like...
Hey, dude, A Kid Called Danger, to anybody who's listening, is a movie that only the 2 people who are on the podcast currently, of the entire 8 billion population in the world, there's only 2 that remember that movie. I don't think the people who made the movie remember that movie.
I think they definitely forgot about it.
Yeah.
It's just been like, it just disappeared into oblivion, into obscurity.
Exactly.
That even the creators forgot that. वो भी एक ज़माने में याद है हमने
Absolutely. I think it's something that they had to go to therapy for to forget. But
oh my god, dude. पर वाकई में बहुत ही कमाल की मूवी थी वो, और हमें आज तक पूरी मूवी याद है, और क्या करें यार, मतलब जिससे उससे कोई यादें जुड़ी हुई हैं हमारे ना एक जमाने की जब हम...
Oh fuck, you remember when the girl that he's in love with says, her dad's moving to Saudi Arabia? Why do I remember this, man? Like...
Dude, I remember that exact scene, man.
Yeah,
like, it's
why
so
was it
weird.
not going to Saudi Arabia? Yeah.
And we're the only 2 people who know that. But yeah, you could tell he was like a really bad liar, even though his dad was like a cop,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You could tell he was really bad at lying, and he just came up with the story. But then वो बंदी बहुत भोली सी थी ना, तो उससे बात मान ली. But dude, I'm looking at photos of Danger now, and he looks so like...
Dude,
obviously,
what? I did not know you saw that. Let me Google it. I can't believe I didn't do it myself.
Yeah, Clayton Taylor, man. He looks so different, dude.
What a dumb name.
I know, dude. Such a white name. Clayton Taylor. Just one
Holy
name
shit,
away
he
from
was born 1985, dude.
That's insane, man.
Why
He's probably like 4... How old is he now, you think? Like 15 plus 23, 4... Oh, dude, he's like 49 now.
Dude, like, I'm surprised you're a finance major, man. Like, what do you mean? Like, 1985, I just add 9 to how old we are.
Or I could have done that, yeah, like... Dude. So he's like 49. No, wait. Oh, no. No, he's only like 39.
Yeah. Ladies and
30.
gentlemen, this has nothing to do with how clever he is. You know, it's just something that is
Yeah,
temporary.
याद ना करे
Yeah.
यार वैसे मैंने पहले बोला था कि मैं बड़ा एक मोटा सा छोटा फूक के आया हूँ
Gee, I know.
और
I'm
मोटे
just like,
छोटे के बाद यार
I'm just making fun of you for that. But man, this kid looks really like he's grown up to be uglier than he used to be.
Yeah, man. I mean, he definitely.
It's the opposite of a
but he
glow
probably
up.
peaked somewhere. Yeah, man. I mean, he probably had a glow up, you know, and then a glow down. But yeah, इससे याद आया कि he's like 39. Okay, yeah, that's not too old, you know. That makes me feel much better. For a second, I thought how like he must be like almost in his like
50s.
in his late 40s, you know.
Yeah, dude, do you remember that movie started with like a lake through the mountains?
Oh yeah, yep. He jumps in the lake, right?
Yeah, and like he kind of gets by because he's underwater and you know pretends to be dead. And यार मुझे जो आज हुआ है पता नहीं मगर जो 2003 में फिल्म देखा था वो याद है.
यार वो मुझे भी याद पता नहीं कैसे है वो सीन मैंने इतनी दफा देखा है
मुझे
कि
समझ ही
वो
नहीं आया.
आधा ऊपर से
I always used to think, you know, if I was in that situation, that would work. But वाकई में, like, do not try that at home.
नहीं यार मुझे लगता नहीं था कि ऐसा it would work because
Life is not a
you
stupid
can obviously-
movie.
But yeah, I think they meant to show that he was an Italian guy because like he
Yeah.
had the dark hair and everything.
Yeah,
you know?
and he was wearing all black for some reason. And that was very common back in the day. Like, I remember Home Alone 3, all the villains were always wearing black, man. Like, ye ho kya raha hai?
Oh yeah, or and I think he had a son as well, you know, who would always wear those. Or no, was he meant to be his son? No, I think was it implied that the other guy in the leather jacket. You remember among the kids there were.
Yeah, okay,
I really like.
Yeah.
I really like those kids, man. I mean, everyone had like a thing that they did. Like there was the chubby kid who was who made the sandwiches, and there was the guy in the leather jacket who was like the thief, you know?
Yeah. Dude, that guy was so skilled. I wanted to do so many things that he could have done.
Yeah, me too, man. He was like a real inspiration, you know? Like just like a little kid, but he could like open like unlock like doors.
Yeah, dude. Oh, that was cool. Sometimes
I always felt like
I can't even open my own lock door, but like yeah.
I know, right? I mean, it would be a pretty neat talent, but yeah, man. I mean, when you watch like crime movies, you want to be more like, you know, you feel like it would be pretty exciting to live that life.
Yeah.
But then if you make like even minor mistakes, like some cars now, they have this thing where you can GPS track the car.
Yeah.
You can put a GPS tracker under it, or you can even program it so that you know it's GPS, just like your phone is like connected to it.
Yep.
So like if people like steal cars and stuff, you know, they can they've tracked them to like other countries or like other cities and like brought them back.
True, but do you know, like I used to think that, you know, thieves get caught, right? But like the true scale, the true like secret is like the scale at which you can do it. Because like in all honesty, today in London you cannot get insurance on a new Range Rover. Like no insurance company in the world will offer you insurance on a Range Rover because they know if it's parked on the street in London it's going to get stolen. And do you know what they've had to do? Like Land Rover have come out and started insuring their own cars because everybody's refusing to do it. That's how bad the world is.
That's terrible, dude. Yeah. Holy shit.
But
it doesn't surprise me though, man. Like this is just the reality of like the urban life in the West, you know, like in even here, like auto theft and break-ins are so uncomfortably common.
Yeah.
Like that yeah, man, it's definitely like something that insurance companies would take note of.
वैसे I keep telling your hubby कि, come back. But again, we're diverting from the topic here. Dude, a kid called Danger. You remember the window and the binoculars that they had? For some reason, it's still stuck in my head.
Yeah, me too, man. I actually most scenes in that film, if we chatted about them, I would remember.
Yeah.
There was one scene that they censored in the original.
Really?
Like when we watched it.
Right.
Yeah, like that when I finally watched it on YouTube, right? Like when we were older.
Did you remember every scene that you could understand which one was censored in the one that we had like 15 years ago?
Yeah, definitely. And to be fair, there was some context as well, but
right.
It's one where Danger has the binoculars, right?
Yeah.
So he's like looking into the girl's apartment, and
yeah, I remember that.
And then she starts to do ballet. That's the scene, right? So she gets into like her ballet outfit, and she's like practicing ballet in her like in her
unnecessary,
apartment. Yeah. And yeah, dude, they censored that whole scene in like in the cassette.
What do you mean? What's actually happening?
She's just practicing ballet, you know.
That's it. What's the need to censor that?
Because like she's in her like ballet outfit, and
that's not too bad. Like
it's like this would happen a lot, you know. Like back then, like stuff would get like a lot of things would get deleted, you know. A lot of scenes would get deleted.
Yeah. Which is why we turned out to be so sharif.
Oh, dude.
Dude.
ये वाकई में उसमें एक सीन था ऐसा तो मैंने जो ना दूसरी दफा YouTube पे फिल्म देखी थी क्योंकि VHS और तमाम चीजें जो हमारी थी वो तो दोहा में
I've seen this on YouTube as well, and 6,000 views, and it's mostly me and you.
Yeah, dude, half of those are just you and me and you. But सही में यार मैंने दोबारा देखी वो फिल्म तो मैंने कहा यार ये scene तो मुझे बिल्कुल याद नहीं like I don't remember this happening because on the VHS I'd seen the movie so many times that I remembered like I would remember if this scene was in there, you know.
Yeah.
तो मैंने वही सोचा यार ये कहाँ था फिर मैंने सोचा अच्छा हाँ bro ये तो वो लोग you know it's not like permissible like to have this, you know, this girl in like a ballet outfit and that yeah, man. That was the only scene that was new for me. Uske alawa, I remembered every scene, man. Like, there was that one at the end where they hid the diamonds in like in the teddy bears.
Yeah.
You know the bad guys, like the leather jacket guy. They're looking for a place to hide the diamonds, right? And they put it in the girls' like teddy bears.
Yep.
And so then in that scene he's like just tearing the teddy bears open, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just so bad and so mean, man. Like to do that in front of a kid, you know, who like has this teddy bear collection, but then he's hid all the diamonds there. And what a dick move, right?
Honestly, as a grown-up, it makes sense. I mean, diamonds are not worth your childhood, you know, like a grow-up kid. But like when we were younger, I get what you're saying.
But yeah, man, it's just so sad because the girl is so sweet too, you know, and this guy is such a crook. Like,
dude, I think
but in the end they kill
crush on her. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, back then for sure, you know, and yeah, dude, like it was a good film, man. I mean, maybe it just seemed good to us because we liked it. But
yeah, I think that's
even the other film, that's probably it, right?
Yeah.
There were two more that I remember that are really memorable.
Right.
One was MVP.
Oh, dude, MVP. Yeah, I absolutely remember that. Absolutely.
Dude, the chimpanzee in the hockey league.
Dude, also, I'm sure I've seen every chimpanzee movie. Like Dunstan checks in MVP. I've seen every movie that has used the chimpanzee.
That's wild, dude. I mean, the reason I saw this one,
Yeah.
and it's probably the only chimpanzee movie I've seen,
Yeah.
but it's because those KFC VHS tapes
Yeah.
that we got. This was one of those. There was like a Kid Called Danger. Then what was it called? MVP.
Yeah.
And Digimon. There was a Digimon movie
yeah,
too.
yeah. Dude, I've
Dude,
seen.
Digimon, like.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, MVP, I remember seeing the movie before, like, I knew what the term meant from popular culture. You know what I mean? So, like, every reference of a basketball MVP just, like, reminded me of a chimp. So, I've never been able to take it seriously.
Dude, that's hilarious. And honestly, same here, because,
Yeah.
I mean, now we know the meme and stuff, like, you're the real MVP, you know?
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
but back then, like, we didn't even know that, and we'd seen the movie before we do it. And I'm the same, man. That's how long ago we watched the movie. Like, we were kids, dude, like, and, but I really liked it, and,
I have
I
no
never thought
complaints about MVP personally either. I think it's a good movie.
yeah, dude, I really enjoyed, like, just how much they start to love the chimpanzee. Like, the girl especially, like, starts to take care of it, and they're all in Canada, and, like, especially in, like, Arctic Canada,
Yeah.
where they play, like, hockey in their backyards and shit. They're like really, like, really out there. And man, I don't know why, but this is so memorable, this one scene, and makes me really emotional.
Mm-hmm.
But man, throughout the scene, you don't hear the girl talk. Like
Yeah.
she teaches the chimpanzee sign language.
Yeah.
So they both talk in ASL, like
Yeah.
in sign language.
Yeah.
And the cutest thing is that the monkey, like the chimpanzee, like learns sign language to talk to her,
Mm-hmm.
And like perfects it. Like that's how they usually communicate.
Yeah.
But there's one scene, man, where like he doesn't understand what she's saying. Like a few times, like there's miscommunication.
Yeah.
And then she actually speaks.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the only scene in the whole movie where she speaks. Like other than that, she's shown to be like a what do they call them? Someone who can't speak.
Yeah. Gungi. I don't know what the English word is either.
वही कह सकते हैं. तो खाली वो एक ही scene है where she actually speaks, and it's just to clarify something because he's just unable to understand her.
Yeah.
But it's such a minor detail in the movie, but yeah, man, it just really tells you like how much attention to detail they put in the movie,
Absolutely, man. And I want to tell you this because actually I want to tell you two things. None of this is going to make any sense, but can you imagine how hard it would have been to get a chimp to play ice hockey? You can barely get a human to play ice hockey. And like I genuinely appreciate the effort that's gone into that movie, but like there's two movies on ice hockey from that time that I remember, right? MVP and Miracle. Right, and Miracle is like the movie that's based on a true story. It's the USSR versus the USA in a game of ice hockey at the Olympics, and it's a very touching, it's a very good sports movie, right? Now, the Miracle is like rated 7.5 on IMDb or something, and MVP is a kids movie, right? But the more memorable one to me is MVP. Now that's just like really. That's just annoying at some point. Like we're completely trashing artistic value here. But the other thing is on the ballet scene, right? So there's this movie called Once Upon a Time in America, right? Which, if you've not heard about it, is one of the greatest mafia movies ever made. And I'm not making that up. Like at some point, if you look into like The Godfather, right? If you look at what movie could really give The Godfather a run for its for its money, it's this one. And the story of that movie, it's got Robert De Niro. Yeah, it is genuinely a very good movie. But the problem was Sergio Leone, I think, is the director as well, and he's quite like he was set out on determined, to make a movie that's better than The Godfather, right? And in my opinion, he did. But what happened was the movie, the final cut, was about 6 hours, right? And the studio wanted him to cut it down to about 2 hours. And he didn't agree, so the studio cut it on their own and they released it, and it went down as one of the worst received movies ever, right? But the original cut, the 6 hours, and there's a 4 hour version, is actually available online. And if you watch that like it's based on the Prohibition era, and it's set in New York, and it's the perfect gangster movie. It's got everything in it. And I'm not like I'm telling you this. The Godfather is my favorite movie of all time. Right? There's not a scene from that I don't remember. There's not a line from that I don't remember. It's also one of my favorite books, but I think it's one of the very few movies that's actually better than the book. But in terms of gangster movies, Once Upon a Time in America proper gives The Godfather a run for its money. Now, the reason I talk about this movie is there's a scene where Jennifer Connelly, who's a very beautiful actress, who at the time of filming, right, she was a minor, right? She was 16. And there's a scene where she's a ballet dancer, and Robert De Niro in his youth is peeping through a hole. And her father used to run like a bakery of sorts, an Italian joint, and she's practicing ballet in the basement. So she can see that Robert De Niro is like peeping into her performance. And there's this very beautiful, touching, romantic scene where she sees him, looks at him, and then continues to undress, right? Now, this is disturbing because she's a minor, but at the same time, I just want to tell you, in comparison to A Kid Called Danger, the 1980s were a wild time. But it's honestly a movie that I would definitely recommend. It's one of the movies that if you can watch the 3 hour or 4 hour cut, I am 100% sure that it'll probably be the best movie you've seen this year by far.
Yeah, dude, I'm surprised I haven't heard of it, considering A, it's a mafia film, and B, it's got De Niro in it, because, man, that genre is one of my favorite genres of film, and I absolutely love everything that Scorsese and Coppola have made.
Yeah.
They're just so iconic and so well done. And, man, there are a few films, even the ones that are less talked of, have you seen Mean Streets?
I have seen Mean Streets, man, but
no way, that's crazy, dude. I don't know anyone else who's seen the movie. I swear to God, I don't think I think if you're a connoisseur of that genre, you would have seen it, but I don't know anyone personally other than you who has even heard of the film.
I agree with you, but in all honesty, you're right. I did watch it when I was on a bender about this genre.
Fair, man. No, that makes sense. But yeah, it's another movie where you think that more people would have seen it, considering it had both De Niro and it had the guy, where's the lead actor? He's been in other movies too that are where he was really they were really popular.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember his name. I know who you're talking about, but I'm trying to remember his name.
Yeah, he went on to do film he was in Reservoir Dogs too. He was Mr. I forgot which Mr. he was. The one who like is helping the guy who got shot, you know, in the back seat.
Yeah. He's very iconic. Like, it's very easy to remember his face. Harvey Keitel.
Harvey Keitel, dude. Yeah, he was in Taxi Driver too. Like same guy.
Dude, and he's so iconic.
He plays the pimp.
Yeah, his face is so iconic. Like, you can't forget it.
It is, man. But he looked very different when he was young. Like, if you saw him in like this movie, like in Mean Streets, which is like really old, or even in Taxi Driver, which was also 70s.
Yeah.
He looked so different back then, man. Like, people mostly associate him with his like the later films he acted in.
Yeah.
Where he like looks a bit older and mature.
Yeah. True.
But yeah, man, and wasn't he in Goodfellas too?
I think so. He was in Pulp Fiction. He was in Reservoir Dogs. He was in most of those mafia films. He looks very gangster.
He does, man. He just has like the natural, like, you know,
dickhead face.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Yeah, man, he's such a good actor, dude. He was also in Mean Streets and De Niro was so young looking in that film, man. And like, you know, it's very low key. Like, nothing major happens in the film, you know. Like, it's not like Goodfellas where there's like a major heist and there are like all these like big, you know, cinematic things that happen over the course of the film.
Yeah.
Mean Streets is very like low key and like very like, you know, the tone of the pace of the film is a little more relaxed as well. And I think that's probably why it didn't like take off as much. But I still think it was a good film.
I agree. And there's a movie that Robert De Niro directed, which is a mafia movie. And it's kind of, I don't know if it's really something that everybody's seen or you would put in that genre, but it's called The Bronx Tale, and it's also a good movie.
I've heard of this film. Yeah, this sounds familiar. Yeah, dude. I mean, when you think about it, the mafia genre has been around for like almost a century now, you know, if you go back. If you start all the way with like comic books, at least, you know.
Yeah.
Like there were comic books going all the way back to like the 1920s, you know, that were on the mafia and like on bootlegging, and as far back as Al Capone, like there were people like making some kind of art related to like the genre.
Yeah.
Or making art of the genre rather, like whether it was comic books or then finally novels, like with Marco Puzo, you know, with Godfather, and then finally with film, and then the TV series like The Sopranos. It's just crazy to think how like it's a genre that's, you know,
but it's dying out. You know, like you don't see mafia movies out now.
Hardly, yeah. I mean, The Irishman is one, but it's not like
it's a
that's
film. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's not, like the
what do they call them?
The Boston Irish Mafia, right? I mean, The Departed was about them as well. But it's compared to
the Italians, you know, I don't think like the greasy ones win this one. I don't know what the non-PC term is for in Italian. Mop? What am I thinking of? There's something you know.
There are many.
Yeah.
There are many slurs, man. The one that, because when they first arrived in like the U.S. and Canada, they faced a lot of racism themselves.
Yeah.
Like they weren't considered white at the time, so they would call them names like Guido.
Yeah.
Or Guinea.
Guinea's the one I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, or like Dago, you know, like
nice.
Both Italians and Portuguese people as well were like were not considered white at the time. They were like treated as, you know, non-white. And then now obviously like they've become
the racists themselves.
You know. That's definitely true, but now they're just considered. Now for all intents and purposes, they're just considered white. Like no one really discriminates based on like, oh, this these people are Irish or like Italian, you know.
Yeah.
But it definitely used to be like a racial division where on a census you would not be considered white, you know, like they were Italian and Irish people weren't included in the white category. You had to be like Anglo or German or like British, you know, Scottish would still be white, but like not Italian or Irish or Portuguese.
Right.
But it's strange how this stuff works, man. It just shows you how it's all man-made, you know, because if you've ever seen an Irish person,
Yeah.
no one looks whiter than like an Irish person, you know?
Yeah, dude, like Irish people like the redheads of Europe, you know? Like I love how if you really like I have a very close friend of mine who's Irish. If you want to piss him off, right, just introduce him to someone and say he's English. You know, he's going to.
Dude, they hate that.
Yeah, he's going to beat the shit out of not me, anybody else is because he believes that he's English. But I have very good. I have absolutely no reason to have this, or I have no explanation. But I have a lot of Irish friends, and the thing is, man, like if you get them going, right, and I'm not talking like in a pub or anything. But if you meet them professionally or personally and you get them going, you can see the stupider they get with their vocabulary, the closer they are to you. Like, if they start saying use, then you're a proper friend of his, you know? Like,
oh, dude.
Yeah.
Australians love to say use as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's... that's probably where it comes from, because a lot of the convicts were, like, Irish.
Yeah.
Like, but... It's such a good word, man. I love use.
I use it ironically from time to time, you know, like if I ever want to make myself look foolish, I like to say it that way.
Man, you'll hear a lot of like street Aussies say it, especially, like, you know.
Mm-hmm. What's a street Aussie?
Like, so like a lot of people don't know this, but
right.
Often when people think of an Australian accent, they think of like Steve Irwin's accent, you know, like a proper Bogan. Like Bogans are like, you know,
Bogan accent, yeah.
Yeah, just like Aussie rednecks, you know.
Yeah.
That's the only accent they think of.
Yeah.
But there are a ton of different like accents you'll find in Australia.
Yeah, true.
Like there's for example like a very like if you talk to posh Australians, like who've grown up in the city and they've gone to like,
yeah,
it's very English. Yeah, exactly, dude. That's crazy that you know that, man. Like that's
we only use the shit, buddy. It's at this point, I'm not surprised.
But that's spot on, dude. Like sometimes, and you won't believe this. Like I've had some friends who are like proper British, right?
Right.
Like they're from like towns and stuff in the UK, or like just places that are still very British, you know, like Newcastle or like you know, Essex or like Telford, like places like that, you know.
Yeah.
And even those people, they told me that, you know, sometimes when I talk to like posh Australians or even like city Australians, I have to listen very closely, and I really can't tell if they're like British or if they're Australian.
Nice, but dude, I love your classification: city Aussie, street Aussie. It's like the pack rats.
There are many clans for sure, man. I mean, street Aussie is like it's a pretty diverse group. Like you'll see many nationalities, but originally it's a culture. It started with like a Lebanese Australian subculture of like Lebanese and Iraqi Australians in like Western Sydney. It's a subculture of like, you know, like a lot of slang and stuff that they used out in Western Sydney then became adopted by wider society. And that's like street vernacular, you know, like a lot of it just sounds different, but it's like you can tell when you hear it, you know, that it's a different accent.
Yeah, dude,
Um,
I'm surprised by how few Australians, or like how many Australians, especially like refugees, are illiterate. Like it really surprised me. Like they speak English, but they don't really know how to read or write. It's very weird.
yeah, I think a lot of it is also like people who left. Um, Australia has like a big refugee population,
Yeah,
and many of them came from like very tough conditions, and or even were people who weren't necessarily like well educated, or but they were like fleeing, say, civil war,
yeah,
um, or like any kind of like war or situation.
mm-hmm.
Uh, in the case of Lebanon, it was like the civil war there. In the
Yeah,
case of Vietnam, there's a big Vietnamese community too. Many of them, I'm not sure, but are people whose families moved there during the Vietnam War.
mm-hmm.
Um, and then, yeah, man, Afghan community as well. There's a huge Afghan community, and in Western Sydney especially. And yeah, those are people. Afghanistan's been in war for like a very long time, and most of them came like at various points as refugees.
Right, but like what amazes me is how little Australia features in culture, man. Like they've got very little, like movies or TV shows or anything that's proper Australian. Like Steve Irwin, alright, but who else? Like very few. Hugh Jackman, yeah, sure, but I can't remember too many.
I agree, man. Like, and the thing is, like, and this is something many Australians will admit themselves is like, Australia's always been kind of like, America's pet, where they kind of just go along with whatever America's doing, whether that's culturally or whether that's like foreign policy wise as well. Like it's like, hey, America is going to invade this country, so they're like, okay, we'll join them as well, or even culturally, like if you look at like popular Australian artists, say like Kylie was a big one when we were growing up. Even she was like very Americanized, like and it's something you'll see with Australian artists of the past, where many of them would really like adopt this, American, or like, be more Americanized for, to go mainstream and be popular.
Yeah.
Whereas now, with some of the newer artists, at least when it comes to music, not so much with like film or TV shows or anything like that, but with like Australian grime, like drill artists, Australian drill, or like chilling it, like Australian rap,
Right.
like Aussie rap has really emerged as a genre, and I love it, man. Mostly because it's so authentic, and like they all like rap in an Australian accent,
Which is hard.
It's really hard, but they've like done it so well, and it just sounds so much more authentic because in the past, man, Australians like, and this is true of British artists as well, they would like, you look at the Beatles, right? Like they sing in an American accent,
Yeah.
Pink Floyd as well, they do the same thing. Like all artists from Britain and Australia,
True.
you would never be able to tell that they're from those countries.
True.
Because it was just kind of a norm for everyone to rap or sing in like an American accent. But I like that these guys have like changed that trend, and then done something that's so like so unique and authentic and is like true to themselves.
Yeah.
They use like all the Aussie slang in their music, and then their lyrics are you can tell that it's like it's not like phony,
I agree. Like it's, if you like, we've listened to most of this, or we've consumed this content before we knew, the difference between that being from Australia would have on a person, and it seemed very normal to us at that point, you know. Like, one of the things that I like talking about the most is the transatlantic accent and how that died out, you know. And I think that's a perfect example of what you're
Dude,
saying. Because over
dude,
time,
you have no idea.
yeah.
Oh man, so sorry to cut you
No,
off,
no,
but
but
you have
go ahead.
no idea how much I think about the transatlantic accent. Like that's, I don't think many people even know about it and like what
Yeah,
it is. Like they would have
exactly.
heard it, but they don't know what it is. But dude, you have no idea how much time I've spent thinking about the transatlantic accent.
Dude, the
Um,
transatlantic accent is our Roman Empire.
oh my god.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have perfected the podcast. But go ahead, man.
But seriously, man, it was so unique and like
So weird.
just really weird too. Like definitely like something that was done like artificially, you know, to create like a different class in society.
Yeah.
Like it was often people like I think Ronald Reagan had a transatlantic accent, you know.
Yeah, mostly because he was an actor before he was president.
Yeah, also that, you know,
Yeah.
and a lot of actors had it, you know, like that's just how they spoke, and like a weird mix of like British and American.
Yeah.
But you'll be surprised, man. You'll see some of that in Australia as well. Like if you meet some like really posh Aussie kids, like they sound like they sound very English, you know. I think like a lot of elites put a lot of importance on like having a posh accent.
Yeah.
And they send their kids to schools where they'll kind of develop a posh way of speaking and like a certain manner of speaking, you know. Like even in South Africa, you know, like I remember meeting some kids from there who were like, and South Africa, as you know, is like very unequal and very like stratified, you know, like there's really haves and have-nots.
Yeah, they're kind of famous for it.
They are
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
It is something they're known for,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And even after apartheid's been formally abolished, like obviously
Still
those
going on.
inequalities have persisted.
Yeah.
So if you look at like posh South Africans, like posh white South Africans,
Yeah.
there's some who go to like just very elite schools, like exclusive private schools, you know, and you know, just for like the very wealthy, you know, like it would be diplomats, investment bankers, kids of like, you know, high society folk.
Yeah.
Their accents are different, you know, like it's sort of like the transatlantic accent in the US,
Yeah.
where they don't speak like anyone else in their country.
I know what you mean. And I'll come back to the transatlantic accent and why that bothers me, but like I just want to tell you, like this entire thing of, you know, mixed schools and like schools with kids who are from all around the world, it tends to have this kind of impact because जो आपकी भाभी की accent है, like it's very close to being British, but you can see aspects of various cultures in that. Like I don't think that's something that a normal person would see, but one, I am, you know, obsessed with that. Two, I am also somebody who describes differences in things like that. So in the way she talks, you can see that, you know, she's gone to an international school, and that there's aspects of every culture in her accent. Even
for sure, that's very unique, man.
Yeah, that's something that's hard to copy. Like you need a lifetime of, you know. Like I personally think she sounds very cute, but like it would be very hard to replicate that. But it's quite close to a transatlantic accent because that accent was developed mostly for radio and then for film, so that, you know, across the Atlantic you could kind of have a proper way of speaking, which is a very British way of, like, even if you meet British people, right, if you've met somebody who speaks Cockney, you think he's an absolute idiot, And then you see
Oh,
somebody
man.
who does RP. Like, I can do RP, I choose not to because it sounds like, my name's Elizabeth and I'm 90. Um, so I
Man,
think, yeah. So even within like English accents, you've got various aspects of being proper, and it's not always nice to be completely proper. Like there needs to be a certain aspect to you that is different. But like the transatlantic accent is one that I would personally love to do or like see in my real life.
me too, man. I'm kind of sad that it's that culture of transatlantic accents being a thing has kind of died out.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you look at the old actors and performers, like you must remember Fred Astaire.
Yeah, dude, I've not heard that name in a while.
Like like he spoke with a transatlantic accent. Audrey Hepburn.
Dude,
You
Audrey
know,
Hepburn, yeah, Breakfast at Tiffany's.
yeah, man. Back then, a lot of people spoke that way, but I was gonna say, man, it's weird you mentioned RP because I was just thinking of that before you said it.
Yeah.
But RP is definitely one that I've thought of a lot, where it's like there's only a small percentage of people who speak RP like as their native,
Every
that's
time
like their native accent.
I have like two examples. One's the Queen and the other's Dame Judi Dench. And I can't think of anybody else.
I mean, RP is like BBC, like it's also called a BBC accent sometimes because like BBC presenters will speak RP.
Yeah.
But if you were to talk about like what region is RP spoken in, like what part of the country does it come from?
Right.
There's only like a small part of the country that speaks it natively, like somewhere in the Midlands, like in Midland, England.
Right.
It's like spoken. Some people who are from there speak RP.
Mm-hmm.
But then other than that, like all of it's not really spoken natively anywhere else. But then it's something that's adopted often for like people who want to be like presenters or people who want to kind of work in those kinds of jobs. Like if you're on the radio or you're on TV and you're like presenting, right? So yeah, dude, it's an interesting one though, RP.
Yeah, but also if you take like a speaking course in English, right, and it's taught by a British firm, right, they'll teach you RP. Like that's the
always.
answer, yeah.
Yeah, so, RP is always the default one there.
Yeah.
And I wonder how that came to be. How the native accent of such a small part of the country came to become like the default, like standard English in England when someone says I speak standard English, they mean I speak RP.
Yeah.
I wonder how like the native accent of such a small region became like their standard accent, because in French it makes a lot of sense. Like standard French is like Parisian French,
Mm-hmm.
Which makes perfect sense when you think about it, right?
Yeah.
Like obviously Paris being the country's capital and its cultural capital, like the standard accent is going to be like standard. You say standard French, it's Parisian, and in America, standard standard English usually means California.
Yeah.
Because again, it's the cultural capital. Like a lot of media mostly media comes out of California, and that's the accent that people use on TV.
Yeah.
So everywhere it makes sense except the UK, and I think the UK is known for not making sense. Because how is it that just the accent of this one region in the Midlands is like standard English?
This is going to bother me, buddy. I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. It's a very good question, but I understand what you mean, but like at the same time, I think like if you look at any person who's learned how to speak, who's got an American accent from watching TV, has a Californian accent, yeah.
For sure, yeah.
And it's all quite degenerate, to be honest. Like you can think of at least a few accents. No, I'm not making sense because the New York accent is horrible as well. I can't think.
It is, man.
I can't think of a
And wait till
decent.
you hear a southern accent.
Hey man, I've heard it. Like, once it gets that bad, it's funny, But but like, I think the one thing about the RP accent is, I would much rather speak to somebody with an RP accent than somebody with Cockney accent, because at some point, like, it's just wanting to be proper. And the Midlands, I understand, makes sense. Like, could be the Geordie accent, could be the Brummie accent. I don't know why it's RP. They're all horrible, but like RP does. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's the official one, but it sounds proper.
I know what you mean. Like, it sounds like I can understand everything that's being said in an RP accent.
Yeah.
Whereas if someone was speaking in in Geordie, or in a Geordie accent even, or in a Yorkshire accent, or man, even like any of these northern accents, like
Manchester, dude, yeah, all of them bother me.
Yeah, man, like what is it, Bradford, Birmingham,
yeah, वो तो Punjabi है.
हाँ, Bradford तो पूरा Punjabi है, but even like just their accent, like the northern accent, it's really hard to understand sometimes. But RP is where I have like the least amount of trouble understanding the other person.
True, but I don't know if it's the cause and the effect, or the effect and the cause. I don't know which one it is.
I know. Is it like the chicken or the egg? Like what came first?
Exactly. This one's going to bother me. Yeah, I know this.
Yeah, honestly, that's fair. But I would say there's some other accents. No, actually, I don't think so. When you think of like regional accents in the UK, they tend to be like notoriously hard to understand. Like even Manchester, man. Have you talked to someone from there?
I do, unfortunately. Yeah.
It was tough, man. I had a hard time like conversing, because a lot of times he would say something and I would have no idea what he said.
Exactly. And they like to speak in this certain way where they're just rhyming with what they intend to say, so you've got to figure out. It's like a riddle.
Oh man. Yeah, honestly, if you're not listening closely, it can be like it can be really hard, like, to do a back and forth. I had a guy from Glasgow on my floor.
Nice.
A couple guys actually, and it would I would have a hard time understanding them, like sometimes they use words, or like say words in ways that sound nothing like how we'd say them.
Yeah. I know what you mean. But dude,
but yeah, man, the UK is interesting.
It is, but like at the 1 hour mark again, I think,
no way.
Yeah, I'm not sure what this was, because I remember movies and I remember accents. But I think we're running out of choices.
How about...
Yeah.
How about Zabaan, Zamaana, or Zalaalat?
Oh yeah. Agreed. So, like, to the one person who's listening to this was Pointless Stories with Karshan FS, episode number 15. Zabaan, Zamaana, or you can do
Zalaalat.
Hey, we'll see you in the next one.